lot of experience can be an excellent teacher. A single experience, not so much. Looking across a large enough set of decisions and outcomes, we can start to tease out the lessons experience might offer us. Looking at just one outcome, we get resulting and hindsight bias. Resulting is a mental shortcut in which we use the quality of an outcome to figure out the quality of a decision. Annie Duke. Recently, I was reading a book titled Thinking in Bets by Annie Duke. She was a professional poker player, but my coach recommended the book to help me refine my investment strategy. Initially, I picked it up expecting to gain insight into making better financial decisions. But what I found was so much deeper than just investing. It was life-changing. Annie introduced me to the concept that fundamentally altered the way I view decisions. The idea of resulting, or the belief that we judge our decisions based on the outcome rather than the quality of the decision itself. While I strongly recommend you read it if you haven't already, allow me to share how this concept transformed not just my approach to investing, but how I reflect on my past choices, especially my experience with being incarcerated. You see, my story isn't just about a crime. It's about the struggle between doing what I believed was right and facing the consequences of that choice. The purpose of reading Thinking in Bets was to help me become a better investor, but it inadvertently became a mirror, reflecting back on my most painful decisions. Duke's insights helped me understand that it's possible to make a good decision that leads to a bad result. And that's where so many of us get stuck. We equate the outcome with the quality of our decision making, but the two aren't always connected. When I lied to the federal government, it wasn't because I was trying to defraud anyone or hurt the people in my care. I lied because I was navigating a broken system that demanded decisions in the gray areas where no clear path existed. I truly believed, that by bending the rules, I could provide the resources needed to support the 18 women and children in my program. I chose to act in what I thought was their best interest, given the flawed paperwork and the inconsistent policies I was forced to navigate. But when my lie was exposed, the narrative became one of deception and malice. The system painted me as someone who had intended to harm, when all I wanted was to help. If I had focused on resulting, I would have allowed myself to be consumed by guilt and regret. I would have accepted that my decision to help vulnerable women and children was a terrible one, simply because the end result was my incarceration. But instead, I found healing in giving myself grace. I chose to focus on my intention at that time, rather than the painful consequences that followed. I have made peace with the fact that I made the best decision I could, given the circumstances. That single act of self-compassion, of standing behind my decision unapologetically, is what allows me to experience peace today. So what is this concept of resulting, and why is it so harmful? Resulting is when we judge the quality of our decisions solely by their outcomes. We assume that if something turned out poorly, it must have been a bad decision. But life is so much more complex than that. We can make great decisions with the information we have, and things can still go wrong. Conversely, sometimes we make terrible choices, but by sheer luck, things turn out well. The outcome doesn't always reflect the quality of the decision-making process. Let's pause for a moment. I want you to think about the areas in your life where you might be resulting without even realizing it. Are you assuming that because your partner cheated, you were wrong for being a loving and supportive partner yourself? Do you believe that losing a job means you should never have taken it in the first place? Are you questioning your past decisions because the results didn't align with your expectations? Resulting keeps you trapped, constantly second-guessing yourself and diminishing the value of your decisions. Here's the reality. We live in a world where we are often judged, not by our intentions or our efforts, but by the results we achieve. It's no wonder so many of us struggle with guilt, shame, and self-doubt. But what if we shifted our focus? What if we started to separate the decision from the outcome? What if we allowed ourselves to acknowledge that sometimes, despite our best efforts, things don't go as planned? When I reflect on my journey, I realize now how liberating it was to separate my intention from my outcome. Yes, I made a choice that led to incarceration, but the intention behind that choice was rooted in trying to serve others. It was a flawed decision made under pressure, but it was not an evil one. And that distinction is crucial. It's why I can stand here today speaking to you without the burden of shame weighing me down. Now let's bring this closer to home. Have you been judging yourself harshly because something you tried to build fell apart? Maybe you started a business that failed, and now you're convinced you were never meant to be an entrepreneur. Or perhaps you invested in a relationship that didn't last, and now you're questioning your ability to love or be loved. This is resulting at its worst, allowing one outcome to define who you are and what you're capable of. The real power lies in recognizing that every decision you make, even the ones that don't turn out as planned, is a step toward growth. It's about giving yourself permission to make mistakes, to take risks, and to trust your own judgment, even when the outcome is uncertain. After all, life is not a game of guarantees. It's a journey of faith, courage, and resilience. As I've navigated my own journey, I've learned to embrace the fact that doing the right thing doesn't always mean you'll get the right results. Sometimes doing the right thing will cost you. It might cost you relationships, financial stability, or even, and in my case, your freedom. But if you can hold your head high, knowing that you acted in alignment with your values, that's where your true strength lies. What decisions have you made that didn't turn out as expected? Are you allowing those results to define you? Remember that you have the power to choose how you interpret your past. You can either view it as a series of failures, or you can see it as a collection of lessons that have made you stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Your decisions matter. They reflect who you are, not just in the good times, but especially in the challenging ones. You are not defined by your outcomes. You are defined by your integrity, your courage, and your willingness to keep moving forward even when the path is uncertain. So I challenge you today. Reflect on your past choices. Were you making the best decision you could at the time? If so, give yourself grace. Release the burden of guilt and shame that resulting has placed on your shoulders. Focus on the strength it took to act, even when the outcome wasn't guaranteed. That's where your real power lies. So here are 3 principles to live by. 1, make decisions based on integrity. Focused on doing the right thing, not just the thing that looks right in hindsight. 2, separate outcomes from intentions. Remember, a bad result doesn't mean a bad decision. Focus on your intentions and the process. And 3, embrace self-compassion. Give yourself grace for the times when things don't go as planned. Trust that your journey, with all its ups and downs, is leading you exactly where you need to be. Now the question is, what will you do with this new understanding? Will you let go of the prisons you've built around yourself and reclaim your power? The choice is yours. Peace and blessings, Dr. O.